Hello, everyone, and welcome to Redesign Your Life Today. I'm your host, Daniel Kobryner, mental fitness coach, and I've got the pleasure to have guests who have had big transformations in their lives and who have incredible stories. And the idea of this podcast is to inspire you to know that everything's possible in life. Changes are possible at any age. And you'll get a lot of insights. And today, I'm very excited to have a very special guest who is Jamie Sylvian with us. Jamie is a former corporate strategist turned coach and author of Rewire, Repackage, Repurpose. With over 30 years of experience consulting for startups, governments, and global CEOs, he now helps professionals over 50 transform their expertise into thriving consulting or coaching careers through his Executive Nomad framework. So, Jamie, very, very excited to have you here. And
I'm happy to be here.
I'll ask you to dig a little further, because I have to say this notion of digital nomad talks a lot to me. And I really would like you to tell us about where you came from, what inspired this change, and how you helped so many people transforming their lives.
Absolutely. So, well, thank you for having me first. So the idea of digital nomad, there's something that you missed with that 30 years in consulting. I have been 30 years in consulting, but I've done it from a laptop and I've done it from 13 countries that I've lived in the world. I travel the world with my laptop. I have all meetings in this environment. I very, very rarely meet a client in the real world. Sometimes I do, but it's not a prerequisite. I specialize in strategy. So if a company is looking for a different way to grow, I'm what they call the ideas guy. So they'll talk me through the business and I'll say, have you thought of this? Have you thought of that? And so on. Executive Nomad is all about, it's actually it kind of sets me out. It's because I'm an executive. I've worked at very, very high levels. I was a founder of a very large company in London that sold for 210 million in 2016. And I've also worked for startups. I've worked for companies in Gibraltar, where I used to live. I've worked in Spain for companies in franchising in Spain. I've worked all over the world, and I do it all from my laptop. And one of the things about Executive Nomad is that the executive is the executive. The nomad part is exactly being able to run a business from anywhere that you want to be. I've run this business, exactly this business, in this kind of an environment from an elephant park in Thailand. That's how free you can get with this stuff. It's all about people taking what they know and actually creating a business out of their career experience. So a lot of people I work with are executive levels. They're working in, for example, local government. They're finding themselves reaching the age of 50 plus. They've been in the corporate world for years and years. And all of a sudden they're not. All of a sudden they're looking at the what's next for their story, for their career story. And I found that one of the difficulties when they go off to HR and say, help me find a job, is that it's very difficult when you're age 50 plus to find a job that is comparable to the job you're leaving. To find a job that gives you the same level of responsibility, the same staffing, the same salary, which is really important. Most people earn 25% less when they go into a job after the age of 50. Statistically, that's in the UK. So those figures will change globally, of course. Whereas the reality is you can take all of your business experience and just go back through it and get a few career wins, losses, and lessons, as I call them, and see if you can turn those career wins, losses, and lessons into a business that you can sell. And what I mean by that is, let's say You were an executive in local authority. You're a CTO, Chief Technical Officer, and you integrated 17 offices into one system, and it saved the local authority £20 million. Most people in that position just kind of look at that as their job. Whereas actually, if you isolate it, it's an entire business, because there are so many other local authorities in the UK, local authorities throughout the entire world, and corporations who will pay good money for somebody with that level of experience, that level of reliability, that level of skill going into helping them to save that kind of a money. And that's just one thing from maybe a 20-year career. So what we do is we teach people how to identify those strengths that they've got. So
Mhm.
instead of the CVs and the job boards and all of that stuff, which is honestly, it's quite depressing. From what I've never done it, so I'm lucky. But in terms of the people that I speak to, Daniel, there is no need for a CV. You take your own experiences and you turn that into a business. And then that's the rewiring part. The repackaging part is that you can run this business, as I said, from wherever you want to be in the whole world, as long as you're okay with time zone changes and all that good stuff. Technology now is such that we can do all the business that we want having a Zoom call like this. So that's really the rewire, the repackage. And then the repurpose is that you can take that skill set that you're learning, and that may be 3 or 4 career wins, losses, or lessons, and you can create an entire business out of them, because all you really have to do, honestly, is give that win a name and then learn how to offer that out into the marketplace. You work out who needs a similar service, who needs 17 offices integrated, or who needs whatever those wins are. You can integrate that into a package. You offer that out into the marketplace. You set your stall out that you do not do in-house consulting, and they can be in a rainy London town trying to run their business, and you can be sitting in the sunshine in Spain teaching them how to do it. So I think that was the long-winded way of what I do.
No, I mean, it's wonderful. And you know what I heard you saying, Jamie, is that first it's about people, as you said, over 50, remembering, all their accomplishments and the strength they have, and knowing that this will be useful for others,
Yeah.
because sometimes we tend to forget that we take it for
Yeah.
granted. We've done a lot of things, but you see, for people, it's something they really need. And this question I have for you is, what made you, what inspired you to become a digital nomad? Because obviously you said you were working for a lot of corporations in London, etc. What was remember the time when you said, actually, there's more in life for me and I would like to make a change?
I remember it down to the day. I was working for a local authority contract in Exeter in the
Hmm.
UK,
Hmm.
and I was in a serviced office, and on the table in the reception was a little newsletter, paper newsletter, obviously back in the day. This was probably 1993, maybe 92,
Hmm.
and it was called the Mouse Monitor, and I read it, and it was all about what today you would call digital nomads. Back then they were called perpetual travelers, and it was basically an advert, Daniel, to sell some books, and those books are still there on my bookshelf. They were,
Okay.
at the time, they were £150 a piece, which
Right.
was which was a chunk of money. They're leather bound and all that. And now none of them make any sense anymore. Probably if you followed the instructions and that, you probably end up in jail. But it was all about living a life of uh, laptops. Yes, they existed, but they were no. Obviously, the technology wasn't anything like it is today. But it was how to live a life of freedom and still run a business without a fixed office, without all of that. Excuse me, without all of that, the corporate stuff. So from there, I decided I really wanted to live in Spain at the time. My family and I grew up in Spain. We spent a lot of time there. So that's kind of, I thought, if I can learn how to do the perpetual traveler stuff, I I um I can get myself into a situation where I could just go and live in Spain. If I could live in Spain, I could live anywhere I like. And that was kind of that was the catalyst for it. So I was a perpetual traveler before I was a nomad.
Wow. I mean, this is so inspiring. And you said 1993, and it was really before, the internet and all the technology we have. So already that must have been quite
I
a
was an
challenge.
analog nomad.
Sorry?
I was an analog nomad before everyone went digital.
No, I mean, this is amazing. So if people listening to us today say, it would be great, but it's not for me. I don't even know where to start. What would be your advice, Jamie?
First of all, start. I think I think really it's a confidence thing. It is a very, very different style of life. And it's not for everybody. Of course, it's not. Lots of people of a certain age have grandkids to think about and so on. So it does have to fit the right kind of person. But all you need to know is you have the security of the income. That's the most important thing. So before you even decide on another country to go to, and you can run this from your own back garden. It doesn't, you don't have to travel like I do. But if you know that you can get the contracts, that's the first place to start. And it takes the first one. The first contract to get with a client is always the tricky one. But once you've got it and you have that credibility and you've used your experience and you've got a result, then you know that you can get out and the confidence, you have a confidence shift, a mindset shift, which I know is very much your thing. And it's very true. It's very true. You just need to feel that you can do it. And once you do it once, it's so good. It's such a lovely feeling. So I've got in the last month, as an example for everybody, I was in Bosnia for a week
Hmm.
because I'd never been there. Then to get there, I went through Greece. And then I flew out of Bosnia back into Greece. I stayed in Greece for a week in an Airbnb. I worked every day, had my clients every day. And I would go and run my meetings from a beachside cafe in Thessaloniki in Greece. And then home, and I travel in another month. Where am I? I'm in Italy, and then I'll be back in London. And I move around a lot because that's kind of what I like to do. I like to be in a city one week and in the countryside or in the mountains another week. But going back to that, all as I need to know in order to live that lifestyle is that I've got the clients coming through. That's how I have the confidence.
Right. Okay. So first step is have the clients have some guarantee of income and go for it. Just take one step. Yes.
Yeah, and you don't have to sell your house or any of that stuff. You can just go. Once you realize you don't need that corporate office and the commute and the driving along in the traffic jams and all that stuff. Once you realize you don't actually need that in your life, you can live a lovely life without all of that, and you've got the money. Then get on Airbnb and find a place to go for a week, a month, or 6 months.
This sounds wonderful. I'm fully up to it. I have to say
Good.
this. You know what? I'm just contemplating really taking this first step. And obviously, Jamie, you founded Executive Nomad. So I'd like you to take us through, the format, what happens when people work with you, the sessions. I think you've got an app. Can you tell us more
Yes, I
about
have.
that?
Yeah. So I used to do I'll cover the app first because I think it's really exciting and something I'm working on a lot because it really fascinates me. Um, I used to spend about 3 hours with every client working out what their win, loss, and lesson was. And we would go through loads of stuff because you kind of have to draw it out of people and have that conversation because most of the time, as you said earlier, um, most people don't remember this stuff and they don't think of it in the context of that win. They think of it in the context of the job and their quarterly review and all the rest of it, but then they're on to the next thing. So I used to spend about 90 minutes, and that was, it was always a task, and it was always a conversation like this. So I decided about 4 months ago that I could work all of that information, that 30 years I've been doing this, into a consulting app.
Hmm.
You can go to that app and you can type in that win, loss, lesson, whatever it is you want. And the app, in about 3 minutes, will tell you a whole series of businesses that you can run with that win, loss, or success. And you can do it as many times as you want, build up a little portfolio of documents that tell you what you can do. But if you said, "Oh, I was a CEO of a company, part of a big group, and I helped in an acquisition," it will tell you what your value is as a consultant, as a non-executive director, as a coach, as a strategist, what your value is, how much money you can earn per day. And people are shocked because consulting, when you get it right, is very, very big money. And it will tell you all of that in a second. So that I call the clarity framework. It's available at executivenomad.app.app. It's free, and use it as many times as you want to. It's really an idea generator because it's good fun. You just type in what you've done and it'll spit out some great ideas that you can do. And it really gives, I found that people who are using it now, Daniel, are getting, they get confidence before I actually have a conversation with them. They're excited about it. They said, oh, I had to go to the app and it told me this. And that makes my job easier because I can then say, well, all right, let's explore that. Let's see what it is that that you could do with that. And that brings me back to my skill set, which is ideation, which is strategy, which is, that's where my background is. So I can say, well, based on what you want to do and what the app wants to do, this is how you can make money at it. And this is how you run it as as an executive nomad. So you can actually reduce your taxes. You can run your business from wherever you want to be. You can do all of this stuff. So that's the first part of my conversation with people. And then if they like that conversation with me, and we can spend, you can have a free conversation with me. You can have a 1 hour paid for consulting session with me, which is this, and we go deep dive one-on-one into what it is your background is and where you're coming from. And then you can make a decision if this is something that you want to do. Then we go into rewire, repackage, repurpose, which is 3 sessions. Rewire is we really pin down what you can offer into the marketplace and how you do that. Repackage is how you create, I mentioned earlier, you just give this stuff a name. That's the way to do it. Somebody's got to, I'm a consultant in this, that, or the other. So is a million other people. But if I'm the CMO, marketing strategist, the $10 million marketing strategist or something, you give it a name, people remember it, they'll remember to call you. And the repurpose bit is the last bit, is how you can take any of these businesses and go and make it a global business. You can become a global company.
So, Jamie, you created this app now, and
Yeah.
which is really, which is a great purpose. Can you tell us more about this? How does it work, the name of it, and what can people get when they go to this app?
Okay, great. So it's called the Clarity app. And it's for people who kind of like the idea of what I do, and they think it could be for them, but they don't know how to do it. And they don't know what service they would offer. So you go along to executivenomad.app, APP. It
Okay.
takes about 3 minutes. Used to take 90 minutes in a consulting session, but it takes 3 minutes.
Uh-huh.
You tap in a few of or a single win, loss, or lesson. You tap in some information, something that was a success in your career. And the system, taking all of the programming that I've put into it, will tell you exactly what you can do with that win to make money in today's marketplace. And that means it will say, if you're offering it as a consultancy, this is what you can do. If you're a coach in it, this is what you can do. If you're a mentor, this is what you can do. So basically, I use it, Daniel, because it works really well once you've got kind of the flow of it, because you go, oh, I also did this. Oh, this was also a win. So people spend an hour on it, just going through, thinking back over their career and just getting a whole bunch of ideas of what they could offer. And as I mentioned before, I've got my sessions that are attached to the app. That's first, it's free, completely free, use it as
Yes.
much as you
Okay.
want.
Mhm.
If you like the idea and you see some value in what it's giving to you, then you can book a call with me.
Mhm.
That's a 20-minute call, just like this, or just a phone call if preferred. And then we'll just have a chat about what's the potential for you to be able to do it.
Mhm.
And then we go into our rewire, repurpose, repackage sessions. And rewire is basically how do you take all of that stuff and make a business out of it? You're rewiring your career history and your career wins, losses, and lessons into something that's become saleable. Basically, it's all about working out what it is and then giving it a name and understanding how to sell that name, which is something that we go through in the course. Then you have the repackage and so you learn how to repackage that into something that a company on the other side of the world will pay you for. So you work out how, if you're a chief marketing officer of a company and you did ABC and you made $5 million, who's going to pay you for that? How much will they pay you for it? And
Mhm.
that's how you work out how to get a business. And you might end up with 5 or 6 of those consulting offers that you can do, or coaching or mentoring, etc. And then the final one is you work out, which is repurpose, is that you work out how to repurpose that. So let's say you're coming from the logistics space, that's your career
Mhm.
move. How do you take that, what you've learned in the logistics space, and offer it out to warehousing, offer it out to local government, offer it out to construction? How do you package something that becomes a valuable commodity that you can sell anywhere in the world? Because as you know, this is the environment. So your clients can be anywhere. As long as you're getting the results, your age doesn't matter, your past history doesn't matter. You've just got to explain to them that you can get them the results, and that's all they're after. And it makes it so much easier than trying to get a job. CVs and job boards and all of that horrible stuff for seasoned professionals, Daniel, who are not finding the work that they need. This is a way to do it. And when they see the money, the system, the app also spits out how much money they can earn. So that's always a nice plus. Consulting is very well paid if you're.
Yeah, well, I mean, it sounds extraordinary, and of course, I'm going to, to have a look at this. And how important is AI in this? Does it play a role? Because obviously today, we've got these wonderful tools. So how can it be integrated, to make this process always more dynamic and up to date?
Yeah, I come from the school that I appreciate that one day AI may rise up and kill us all, but until then it writes our emails for us. So AI is really important, and the way to think about it, the way in which we use it, it is user-friendly AI. So the app, obviously it's AI driven, but
Mhm.
from that I have 22 other apps that we build out the business with. So if anybody decides to come on the full course with me, we can build out an entire marketing plan with AI. Used to take about 2 days, 3 days. Now it takes about 20 minutes, if that. We can build out the emails that you send out to people. So
Mhm.
if you're worried about marketing, worried about that, it's not tech. You don't have to go and learn AI at all. These are all forms that are filling. We take care of the back end. You fill in the forms, and they'll tell you what emails. They'll write the email for you. They'll write the marketing plan for you. They'll do your accounts for you as well. There's some complicated stuff. It's going to be really, really big, but we've got to. AI is never going to take over the humanity of what consultants and coaches do. It never will, because it doesn't connect ideas like we humans do. But what it does do is, when for example, the way I use it, I'll ideate something that I'm working on, and
Mhm.
then I will go into it in a much deeper. And then I will ask ChatGPT or Claude, they're the two main ones I use. I will then it feels like a conversation. Then I will have a conversation, say, pick out the bad spots, pick out the other things that I'm missing. If I'm using it on a consulting contract, I'll get a ChatGPT to read through it and give me any pointers of bits I'm missing. So it's really important, but it's not something to be bothered about, because I'm very aware that people, once they kind of reach 50, are are less inclined to learn new technologies, and this new technology is astonishing. So I think it's really important to say we do use it, but don't be scared of it. It will make your life so much easier. You can get the emails done in 10 minutes in the morning and go and have a coffee on the beach.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. And I have to say, you see, I'm 64, so, and I started using it really over the last year. And again, I'm not a tech person, but it's fantastic. If we have the right prompt, if we say exactly what we are after, and I
Yeah.
mean, what it can help with is amazing.
Yeah,
So,
it is really astonishing what it can do, and it's only just started. I think going back to my point, Daniel, about will it take everyone's jobs? I think the people who use AI to help them with their job will be safe. I think you'll just be able to do a much better job, but it's never going to overtake conversations like this where you're on a consulting space. Because, as an example, let's say you're a client and we're
mhm.
talking about something, you're telling me about a problem in logistics that you've got, and we're talking about how to solve that problem, how I can help you. My brain is constantly thinking, "Yeah, I've done that before. Or what if we
Mhm.
did this? What if we did that? AI will never be able to do that because it's only pulling, AI is only pulling on information that exists. What I've
Exactly.
just done with that ideation, with that strategy with you is, oh, I remember that we had a similar issue to that and then this happened. AI will never take that. Well, let's not say never, but let's assume it won't for the next few years.
And this is the beauty of it, it's the human element, and you who travel all over the world, you meet people, and this is really the nice thing. Of course, you work online, but
Yeah.
the interactions, you cannot replace them, can you?
No, no, absolutely, absolutely not. But I think the way I position Executive Nomad is that you don't have to meet people. But I've driven down to Greece for meetings with people that I was thinking about working with. I ended up not working with them, but I also did get time to spend in Greece, which is one of my favorite countries. So that was important too. Um, the fully online stuff, it doesn't have to be like that. If you live in I know you live in London, Daniel, you can still go out and meet clients. You can still go and visit clients if that's what you want to do, because the whole point about Executive Nomad, it's freedom. And the nomad thing was really, when I was thinking about all of this stuff through, was really about just not needing that office, just being able to be you. When you've got your laptop in your bag, you're at work, and decent camera and all the rest of it. So that's kind of where I come from.
I mean, this is amazing. And you see, one thing, Jamie, you described executive nomad as like a category defining movement. And I really
Yeah.
love this expression. Can we talk about, for instance, community? Is one of the ideas to create this community because you work with digital nomads from all over? Is there like a sense of people coming together and talking together, for instance?
Yeah, I think I really think that's important. And it's important for two reasons. One is, you're at home, I'm at home, we're having a great conversation, and but you still need that interaction. But more importantly, I think, is that once you've got the hang of being an executive nomad and you specialize in, again, let's just use logistics. I'm only using logistics, not that I know anything about it, it's just that I've just been dealing with somebody in that space. Um, you're great at doing this in the logistics space, but you're not great at doing the other thing. As the community grows, you just need to go into our community and say, I need a hand with. I'm working on this project. We're doing a cost reduction exercise in transportation through AI, as an example. But I don't get that bit. So is there anyone in the community who can help me with that? Somebody else pops up, you share the deal, everybody makes some money. As the community grows, I can foresee that being a really important part of a community. As soon as you get on a call with another executive nomad, you know what happened, you know where you came from, you know your roots in taking up this lifestyle. But then secondary, there's deals there, there's deals to be made because as I said, as it grows, then more and more people can say, I can do that, I can do that. So I think the community is going to be really important for us. Still early stages for that, but it's starting to move. We're starting to get there. My idea is that there'll be thousands of executive nomads who will actually all communicate each other in one single place.
Wow, this is amazing. And how do people interact with each other? I mean, is there a platform? Is it like on Facebook? Is it on school? Is it on Go High Level? What's the idea? I
It's
mean,
it's all private. I'm not a big fan of Facebook groups and all that, simply because there's an identity here of an executive nomad. When you go on Facebook, there's a billion identities. When you go into the community, executivenomad.com, but it's behind the wall. Obviously, it's only for people who've gone through the course. But once you're into that space, you're a
mhm.
part of that world. That was always important to me. So I know that the only people I'm sharing, the latest marketing strategy with, or something that, a big win or a big loss, that we all need to be aware of, or whatever, whatever it is, everybody has got that brand in their mind. They're all executive nomads. And I think that's really important. I think that gets diluted using social media. That's a personal thing, of course.
Yeah, no, 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 of course. I mean, my question was really kind of when people want to interact with each other, some of your clients, how do they do this? Is it for you? Are you like are they part of a kind of group, like a private group or no? I don't know how it works.
Do you mean when somebody is working with their client, like
Yeah, no, no, no.
as a
I thought,
consultant?
because obviously you work with different kind of clients,
Mm.
and then if you imagine someone has a need and somebody can address it,
Oh
can
yeah,
make
there's
interact.
chats. It's not dissimilar to a Facebook group. Everyone can chat to each other and
Oh
have
yeah, so there
conversations.
is, okay, this is
Oh
like,
yeah, absolutely. That's really important. Because otherwise all of the questions would come to me, Daniel. I'd never be off the phone.
no,
So
that's it.
so people can interact, have their own community. That's really important. And I'm there when I can. I don't want to be stuck to the computer any more than anybody else does. That kind of defeats the purpose of the lifestyle. But that's why the community works.
No, absolutely. And what's your vision? Let's say for the next 5 years, where would you like Executive Nomad to be? I mean, what's the dream, Jamie?
The big picture, the
Yeah.
the North Star, as they call it, or as I call
Yes.
it.
Yes.
Right. So we're reaching a point now where our clients are looking for one-on-one care, one-to-one. That's high energy for me. It's a lot of time spent with people. So in the next couple of months, I'm going to start bringing on licensed executive nomad partners.
Okay.
And then we will collectively, so all of the big events will be done mainly run by me, but that won't always be the case. We'll get some people who can run it. I think there's room globally for 350 executive nomad partners. And these are people who do what I do. They take the one-on-ones. They spend 90 days with an executive who's leaving a company. They take him through the whole process. So at the end of that 90 days, the client has the website, the marketing system, the service offer, the book that goes onto Amazon, the whole series, everything that they need after 90 days they've had everything from us to get them. And then that's for somebody. I believe that those people will come from executives who don't want to be back in that space that they're just leaving. The logistics guys, like, I've had enough of that. I've just done it for 35 years. I want to do something else. So there's certain people who would do that. If each of those people bring in just 10 clients, 10 cohorts, as we call them, per quarter,
Mhm.
then they have a fabulous business. And it's all about being a nomad. So they can live wherever they want to do it. They manage those clients using my platforms, my strategies, and so on. And then they take those clients through to the next stage using all of our AI. AI is going to do a lot of that work for them. So it's not such an intensive business when you've got backup from AI.
Wow. Well, again, this is so powerful. And a question which comes to mind is, I mean, you meet wonderful individuals, and some of them has huge transformational stories. Do you sometimes organize like retreats where, or is it something you contemplate where, people from your community would come together just for a few days and be together, share their stories? Is it something
For a
which
few
you,
beers.
sorry, a few
For
beers
a
as
few
well?
beers
Yes.
to get away from it. Yeah, I mean, we're not doing yet. I don't think we've reached that sort of a mass.
Okay.
But it's a lovely idea, isn't it? They you just, all of these people are in one place. We can introduce guest speakers and all the usual stuff. I'm not inventing the wheel, but the fact that every single person, I think it's a really magical thing. Every single person who comes can bring their laptop and they can work while they're at the retreat. And I've lived in some countries, Daniel, that would just be marvelous for retreats. Thailand and Bali and Greece. There's some countries that I can see how people would love that. So yeah, I mean, we're not there yet. It's all about time, isn't it? It's about bringing the people in and building the team and so on. So, but definitely, I think that's something that I think that'd be lovely to do.
No, this is fantastic. And, we had just a little chat, before this
Yeah,
conversation, and I shared with you that I had the opportunity to go to Madeira. This was at the end of last year. And I
yeah,
went to this village called Ponta do Sul. And there they built from scratch the executive nomad community. It was this village was nearly derelict, and then somebody had an idea
fascinating.
and they started bringing people in. And I've seen people all over. I was there doing a retreat. And this was absolutely amazing. You see these people, different age, coming there from Germany, from Switzerland, from UK.
Yeah,
Then they live there and they share their passions. And that, as you said, they live with their laptops. So, and I heard from the person who organized it, that they are creating these communities all over, dedicated
Yeah,
places
yeah,
where, an environment is created, with a place where people can use a laptop and go there, and
yeah,
recreational areas and all
yeah.
that. I can I can see this movement taking on big time. So, and obviously you're one of the first, to go into this space, but you know, this is amazing.
Good. Yeah. No, and the co-working thing is what you're referring to. It is fascinating. It's fascinating from two reasons. One is that I've got a couple of friends who run those co-working places, and he always introduces me as the analog nomad because most of them are young people in their 20s, and he'll say, "Oh, this is Jamie. He's not a digital nomad. He was an analog nomad," which does two things. It makes them look askance at me like I'm some kind of an alien, but also they're fascinated to think, and I've been doing this for often as longer than some of them have been alive. This is not a new thing. This is not a thing that happened in COVID by any means. I've got the books behind me to prove that. But yeah, no, to be able to go, and there is one other thing about that is that, you know, um, internet was just created the whole big difference, or the access to the internet, obviously. But now we've got Skylink. I could go and sit on a boat. I actually was on a boat in Thessaloniki in Greece for 4 days, and it wasn't. I was just renting a boat. It wasn't mine. But you could go out into the waters and still have absolutely brilliant internet with Skylink. That's Elon Musk's thing, and it's only, I don't know, 100 quid a month or something. So it's not much.
Again,
It's
you
not
get
cheap. It's not cheap, but it's not a lot for that lifestyle, right?
absolutely not. And it
Yeah,
means you can literally work from everywhere in the world. Yes, Skylink is
yeah,
obviously, I know they were using a lot in Ukraine,
yeah,
now with everything
yeah,
that's going on there. And
yeah.
and if I may ask, did you have like big surprises in terms of people working with you, and what were the most interesting or really big things which you saw happening with people started working with you, which really surprised you?
I had a guy who came to me who had no idea how to do finance, and he was telling me about a project that he worked on where he was kind of on the peripheries of finance. It was an acquisitions deal,
Hmm.
and I said that must be so valuable. He said, what's so valuable? I said, the fact that you kept those deals together. You were like the glue that kept those deals together. And he had never thought of that before. He'd also just thought of himself as very much on the sidelines, just making things happen. I said, no. I said, especially at that level, it was a $100 million acquisition that he was taking. So it wasn't small potatoes. It was a
Hmm.
big energy business that was been sold in America, and he now is the glue that holds these deals together. And
Wow.
I thought it was so funny because he even uses that terminology. And it was just something that just came into my head as we were talking about it. And I was saying, you just hold all this stuff together. And it was fascinating that now it's his business. The other thing that I think is really fascinating, I think it can be tough for some people, this bit, is that it can become a transient lifestyle.
Hmm.
Certainly, I did it, and I was moving every 3 months, and I did it for a long, long time. But then I realized that I didn't have any friends left because people in this game. I don't mean being a nomad. I don't mean, sorry, I don't mean being an executive nomad. I just mean in the nomad world, in that kind of laptop lifestyle world.
Hmm.
You go to a place and you go and meet people in the co-working spots. You're never lonely. It's not a lonely life by any standard. You can look for a co-working place before you get there. You can sign up for a month. I just a couple of months ago, I was in Nerca in Spain for nearly 2 months, just beginning of the year. This was the day I arrived. I had an office to go to. All my kit was already there because I'd sent it off in front of me, and I just got there and I had an office for 2 months, and I had, I don't know, half a dozen friends that I could go and have a beer with at the end of the day and so on. So it's not a lonely lifestyle. However, because it's transient, people don't always invest time in you as a person because they know. that you might be gone in 2 months' time or 1 week time or whatever it is. So that works in two different ways. One is that people say, "Oh, well, where are you off to?" And you say, "I'm off to Madeira." And they say, "Well, I could fancy that. Where are you going?" And then you build out that community. But the other thing is, you don't find the investment in relationships that you would in the same way as somebody that you know from one of your neighbors or so on. It is a different approach. I think it's lovely. I've got friends all over the world. My niece is an executive nomad now, following in her uncle's footsteps, which I'm very proud of. I think she's in Bali at the moment. She's been there for a few months. So yeah, there's pluses and minuses like anything, but on balance, I reckon it's 90% good.
So, I mean, the possibilities are huge. So, if I was asking you for three tips you can give to our listeners today, people who are on the fence, who don't know, but, who feel kind of attracted, what are the three tips they could really follow or the ideas in order to make this decision of transitioning in their lives?
Absolutely. The first one is, I mentioned it earlier, is make sure that you can supplant your income. So if you're leaving a job,
Yeah.
you don't just think, well, I'll wing it. That's the wrong way to do it because there's pressure immediately.
Mhm.
And that's not, that's kind of what a lot of
That's,
what we do is to
this is the
help people
first one,
find that,
yes.
right? So that's the first one. The second one is to make sure that you're not cutting your ties. Say you've got a house in the UK or wherever you are as you're listening to this or watching this. Don't cut your ties
Okay.
because it might not work for you. It may, as in the lifestyle may not work. The money will work because you can always go back to the home, even if you've rented it out for 3 or 6 months. You can always go back home and be a consultant based in your spare room.
Mhm.
It's still exactly the same. You're still on the Skype. So, but it's the opportunity. And I think the third one is to keep an eye on the way this thing works because things are changing all the time. You get great tax advantages if you're outside of the UK, as an example, for more than 180 days a year. But whatever you do, don't stay there for 181 because then you'll get yourself into trouble. So there are things that you need to understand and need to learn about the nomad lifestyle, that just to make sure you're completely legal and completely safe.
Yes, thank you very much for these tips. And just the last point brings to a question I had in mind for you. Tax. Okay, taxes. How do we go? Because obviously, yes, there is this rule if you live more than 180 days
Mm,
if I'm in a country, this is where
yeah.
it's tax. So imagine that you spend 1 month there, 1 month there, 1 month in each in different countries. Where are you taxed? How does it work?
Okay. That's probably one of the best questions. So
Oh, thank you.
in the UK, I can't remember exactly what the tax rate is in the UK, but I know it's high and about to get higher. If you go to, for example, you base yourself, you don't have to stay in there, but you base yourself and your company in places like Bulgaria, it's a
Hmm.
10% flat tax rate. You can still run your business from wherever in the world you want to be, but if your company is Bulgarian, you pay 10% tax. You also pay 10% income tax. And that's flat rate. Now compare that to the UK, compare that to Ireland, compare that to America. And yes, there's difficulties because you've got to translate stuff, but it's all doable. It's not, no, nobody comes unstuck with it. If you go to Cyprus, they have different rules and tax. You can pay very little tax. If you
Hmm.
go out to the UAE, you pay 9% corporation tax. Well, I think it's in England, it's 20 something, 24, I think. So it's just about planning your tax, and there are plenty of tax. I'm not one, so don't take anything I've said as legal advice, etc., etc. But there's plenty of people to give you tax advice on how to do it. But it's about structuring. In the old days, in the perpetual traveler days, it was called the six flag theory. It's where you had your company was registered in one country, your finances, your banking in another, your investments in another. All sounds very complicated. It's much easier than it sounds. So that there is really, really good ways of reducing your tax in a lifestyle like this. And it doesn't always mean you're living out of a tent and running around like a proper nomad. It's just getting it done properly the first time.
Well, Jamie, this has been absolutely fascinating listening to you, and this could
Thank
have
you.
gone for hours. And now, if some of our listeners really want to contact you, they'd like to work with you, they're inspired, what's the next step?
Yeah, just pop along to executivenomad.com. and they learn about a little bit more about what we do, and then if they want to reach out to us from there, all the contact details are there and so on. If they just want to try the app, which is a great place to start, I have to say, just go to executivenomad.app.app and take it from there, and they can fill in, have a play with it. I'll get their details because they register to use it, and I'll reach out to them and say hello if anyone wants to have a chat with me, or watch some of the other podcasts that we do. More than happy.
Well, I can only thank you so much for your time and all
Yeah,
this, these new possibilities which people will see in their lives. I mean, everything's possible. And obviously,
yeah,
with a laptop today, you can do everything. And you are a living example. You've done it for many years. So thank you so much for inspiring our listeners. And again, I encourage everyone to reach out to Jamie and just go to the app, have a chat and see, because you have only one life. Live it the
yeah,
best way
absolutely.
you can. And so thank you everyone for watching. And I hope you've been inspired. There's a lot to take away from this interview, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thank you so